of 2017, I got a phone call. One of my leaders got a phone call from an attorney, said he wanted to speak with me. So I called the attorney back, and he said, hey, really like Chick-fil-A, know the training programs are great. I just want to hear like how you train in your restaurant. I said, what is this in reference to? And he said, well, there's a lawsuit going on right now. And based on our client's credit card statements, they ate at your establishment and somewhere else. And I said, okay, I'm not comfortable at all answering these questions. I said, you should speak to our legal team. And he goes, well, that's what I figured you'd say, and that's what you should have said. So just give them my name and number, and I'll have them follow with me. So I hung up the phone and actually called our risk management department at Chick-fil-A first, Mark Jeffers, and said, hey, this is what's going on. This seemed really fishy. They were super complimentary, but I could tell something just wasn't right. I gave them all the information that I had. They reached out to the plaintiff's attorney. We were told the following week, hey, the statute of limitations is about to run out. And I said, about to run out on what? Because at this point, I'm just not really sure what's going on. And they said, well, somebody had a foodborne illness. They were in the ICU for about 90 days, permanent paralysis, a lot of medical bills, and this person's got super sick. Come to find out, they had eaten at a local grocer, and they'd eaten in my restaurant, and they narrowed it down to us too. Now, because I am in the restaurant every day, I am involved in my restaurant, I pay attention to the details, and we have our team pay attention to the details. I didn't think it could be us. I wasn't naive to the fact that we were above that. We just had some really good systems in place to make sure that the food we served was cooked properly, we cleaned properly, and not only that, we inspect and hold our team members accountable. So I called the attorney back. I said, what if I decide not to go? Like, I don't want to do this. This doesn't make any sense to me. She goes, yeah, this is how this deal works. You go. I said, all right, no problem. I met with our attorney for about 30 minutes because we had gotten sent all the questions ahead of time, and I was prepared to answer. And the plaintiff's attorney spent about 20 to 30 minutes with me, asking me a lot of questions around our food prep procedures, sales for the day, how involved I was in the restaurant, any food safety procedures that we had. Did we make items that did not have a recipe? And at our restaurant, we have always chosen not to do that. If it doesn't have a button, we do not make it. The defense attorney, on the other hand, was very thorough. So he spent 2.5 hours asking me all the questions that he had asked me, and then a lot of follow-up questions. He had me draw where all the raw food was being made, where all the cooked food was being cooked. Then he started in on our training process. So he asked me, what we did on training, how my training program was, and he asked a very specific question on what are your procedures in a notebook? I said, what do you mean by procedures in a notebook? And he said, so none of your procedures are different than what Chick-fil-A corporate recommends. And I said, no. What they were trying to do is establish a pattern of if you follow the rules at that point, if you have a food safety culture. And then they were trying to prove a pattern of accountability or lack of accountability. My attorney said, there's 2 things I'm gonna tell you. Number 1, I feel super comfortable eating at your restaurant, always. And number 2, the plaintiff's attorney absolutely loves you, and that defense attorney absolutely hates you. I said, okay. So I wasn't worried that it was us, but always in the back of your brain, there's that anxiousness and nervousness of, oh my gosh, what if it is us? There's a lot of families that rely on Chick-fil-A, for their income, whether it's an operator or the people working for us. So those things ran through my mind really quickly. But one thing that made me super comfortable was we have had a culture of food safety in our restaurant, and our leaders, all of them have been trained on the Daily Safe Critical by myself or the training director. And we use the Chick-fil-A Now app to set the alert if it hasn't been done. So that way the whole leadership team knows what's going on and makes sure that they can do the Daily Safe Critical. The most important lesson I learned is really 3. There's not just one. The first one is just having that culture of training in your restaurant, making sure that everybody starts off on the right foot, that they're not just thrown into a position, that you have a detailed training plan for everybody. The second one is the culture of accountability, and that it's not just food safety, it's everything, and making sure team members are on time, that you're documenting what's going on. Sometimes I think the consequences part is something we don't like to do, but as leaders, we have to hold people accountable. And we do want to encourage them when they're doing things well, but if they're not, we need to make sure that we're documenting things that are not going well. And then the last part, the third thing, is making sure that, that operators stay engaged with their restaurant and that you're there. And whether it's our food safety director that comes through, is whether our leaders doing anything, whether the food or the health department comes in, we want to make sure that we're engaged with all of these and we know what's going on, so that way we can hold our team members and our leaders accountable. I want to definitely protect this brand and defend it and make sure that we're represented well through this, and that our story is being told from the food safety side, even though it's in a deposition. And this is what we do, and this is how we make sure our people don't get sick who eat with us, whether it's our guests or our team members.